primavera è qui, ma questo triste cuore piange di malinconia. Lontan sei tu da me, dal cuore che ti ama. Io t'amo e t'amerò ogni giorno ancor di più. Sinfonia, che bel canto d'allegria. Questa dolce melodia, sinfonia, cantano gli angeli dal cielo. You, sweet symphony, please return to me.
Listen. The birds are singing. The spring is finally here. My broken heart is crying. Why the roses catches my teardrops.
Spring rain calls out your name. My love, where can you be? It thunders in my brain and gives me so much pain. Io e te.
All right. Welcome to this late night chat here. I'm just the process of updating my Chromebook here to my right. And it looks like we're all good. Hope all of you guys are doing well. There we go. All right, the stream looks good. All right, so some random topics for tonight. All right, I'll leave it at that. Okay. Everything looks good on my end. So some random topics for tonight, some updates. Before I begin, I caught a brief story tonight. A plane traveling somewhere, passenger plane, temporarily had no pilot for 10 minutes. Apparently the co-pilot, something happened, blacked out for about 10 minutes while the captain was in the bathroom. Nobody knew about this until the captain came out of the bathroom, tried to get back to the cockpit and couldn't get in. He had to use some kind of emergency code. Finally got in, and anyway, everything is fine. This is not a joke, by the way, but that really happened, and it was just released to the public. I think this happened last year. I don't think it was in the USA, but that's kind of scary. So maybe that airline should consider having more than just 2 pilots on long flights. It's just a thought. All right. Well, last night I took my son and his mom to a place downtown, a family-owned pizza place. They do fire-baked pizza, and it was like a late Mother's Day gift for her. Anyway, they had the pizza. I had the buffalo chicken. I have to tell you, it was superb. I don't think I've ever had buffalo chicken before, and it was like a pound of this sucker for like $8.99. Like I said, they had the meatball sandwich and the pizza, and again, fire baked. It was absolutely superb. I guess I should be talking about this now, this late, as this will probably make me hungry. Anyway, it's Yeah, it was fun last night to get out of the house, and man, that pizza is terrific. And looks like Joseph popped into the chat. Hi, Joseph. You're on the push to get all your computers on KDE Plasma. Okay, I don't use Plasma myself, but that's all fine. But that's all good. One computer on Arch. No Arch for me. Another one possibly switching to Fedora. All eventually on Debian 13. Yeah, I use mainly Ubuntu base, but I have a MX Debian-based MX Linux on a ThinkPad that originally had Windows XP. That sucker still runs. Not the fastest, but ThinkPads and Linux are the best. You know, with Windows 10 expiring soon, and if you have the time, if you have patience to learn Linux, just buy a refurbished ThinkPad. $200 on Amazon is all you need. You know, and try your Ubuntu's, your Linux Mints, your Zorns, your Chrome OS Flex. If you never want to use the terminal in Linux, by the way, and I know Windows users, you tell me that Linux, the terminal, just download Chrome OS Flex, and if it works, you don't have to use the terminal ever in Linux. Isn't that nice? Anyway, I'm going back to my picture of the pizza here. Anyway, last night I had the buffalo fries, so that was good. All right, so let me give you a quick update on myself. I had surgery. Some of you don't know about this, so and this is fine to share it now since everything is fine. Something called inguinal hernia. I affectionately call it iguana hernia. It is a groin hernia that is common in men, I guess. This is from the Cleveland Clinic. An inguinal hernia happens in your groin, the passageway called the inguinal canal. Is that next to the Panama Canal? You might see a bulge on one side of your pelvic bone. It's caused by abdominal tissue pushing through an opening in your lower abdominal wall. This opening may be congenital, meaning you were born with it, or it's due to normal age-related muscle degeneration. I knew something was wrong back in 2023. There was like a little spot there. I wasn't in the mood to go see a doctor. You know, we were just getting through the pandemic. I didn't think what I had was COVID related, but anyway, I waited until early 2024 to have it checked, and sure enough, it was this thing here. I waited a year to finally get the surgery done. And by the way, this is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. You shouldn't wait a year to get something like this done if you have something like this. And I had it done. Everything is fine. I should be fully recovered by next month. I had it done April 1st, April Fool's Day, because why not? Doctor says, you want to do it April Fool's Day or April 1st? Sure, why not? Anyway, the doctor trained at the Cleveland Clinic, so he saved me a trip at the Cleveland Clinic. It would have been about a 3-hour drive each way. He took care of it. The first week was a little rough. Sore down there. Anyway, I went back this past Monday. See the nurse practitioner. She was there. She wanted to check me out down there. I said, sure, doc, go ahead. So she gave me a good squeeze down there. You know that joke, cough, squeeze, cough. I should have said, doc, you want to buy me dinner first if you're going to squeeze me? Anyway, everything is fine. So, yeah. Inguinal hernia, if you get something like this diagnosed, don't wait a year like I did. It's stupid. I waited a year because I wasn't in the mood, and plus I saved up some money to have this paid for. Speaking of having this paid for, I have insurance. But of course, there's always a bill, right? Because our wonderful healthcare system in this country. So anyway, I got the bill. I'm like, I went to the accounting office, and I said, I want a cash discount on the balance of the bill. And they said, well, I can give you 10%. I'm like, make me an offer I can't refuse. They were very nice. She says, I'll check with my boss. I'll call you tomorrow. Sounds reasonable. So, next day I get a call. To make a long story short, they went from 10% off to like 20-some% off. Still not feeling it, but I didn't want to argue, so I paid off the bill. I got a cash discount. There was still thousands, but I got that off my back, off my chest, as it were. Everything was cleared away. You know, it was one of those things where always take care of you first. I was going to buy a new computer, like a Ryzen 7 with a 4000 series NVIDIA card. But now with these tariffs and prices rising, I thought I'm going to pay off the bill, take care of myself first, and maybe sometime this year, whenever, maybe I'll buy a new PC. But always take care of yourself first. Your health is number one. It has to be. Because if you don't feel good or worried about your health, does anything else matter? It's just a thought. So, anyway, that's that. All right. Oh, I went shopping. You may have heard of Dr. Squatch soap. I've seen commercials for this, and I decided to try one. It's kind of pricey. If you buy this by the bar, it's like $7 or $8. So I bought this Frosty Peppermint Dr. Squatch. I figure, for that kind of money, maybe this make me feel tingly all over, like tea tree soap or tea tree shampoo. Get that clean feeling, or maybe it'll make your skin soft. Well, for that kind of money that you buy this for, I felt neither. I'm not saying it's a bad soap, but I didn't feel soft or tingly while using this soap. So for me, it wasn't worth it. But just to let you guys know, if you see commercials for this, now I don't know if this is for people who are sensitive to soap or get rashes or whatever, but yeah, Dr. Squatch for me was just another soap. I buy normally soap that has like shea butter, cocoa butter, moisturizers like, well, I was buying Tone soap, but I guess Tone is no longer being made. So last Christmas I was shopping, and Amazon and Walmart was sold out of the Tone soap. I tried eBay. Somebody had a box or package, a 30-pack of Tone soap for $1,000. And I thought, aha, so that's how they smuggle cocaine. I knew it. I didn't buy it, obviously. Nuts. So I buy like Camay, Dove, I think Yardley is the name. Anything with cocoa butter, moisturizers, that's all good. But this Dr. Squatch for the money to me was nothing special, but that's how my skin reacted, and it didn't react at all. But I guess that's good for having no reaction. All right, what else? And these are just random topics for tonight. Cassettes are making a comeback. There's even a website, Cassette Comeback. I did a recording, editing with my AI friends, Fricky and Fracky, as I like to call them, using Google's AI. I don't have it on this PC tonight to share it with you. But cassettes, you have artists, I guess, like Taylor Swift releasing albums on cassette. There's something about the cassette, I guess, where having the background hiss, or that, I guess they call it more of a warm sound to the tape sound versus a CD, and having the actual cassette liners to read about the album and the artist. It kind of makes sense because albums have made a comeback, and people like to look at full photographs of the albums, the history of the artist and stuff like that. So I guess it kind of makes sense to have, the same thing with cassettes, because why not? I have a lot of cassettes. I even still have a boombox that still works with built-in Bluetooth and radio and CD player. To be honest, I don't play the cassettes that much. I guess it's a matter of convenience, but for some reason, cassettes are making a comeback, and I guess even portable cassette players are now easier to find that won't cost you $500 or anything like that. So this is, you can check out, they buy and sell cassettes, cassettecomeback.com or cassettecomeback.org or something like that. All right, so as I mentioned before, Windows 10 is coming to an end. I believe October of this year. You have options if you really don't need to use Windows, and I know it's a big if. If you don't have to use Windows, you can try installing Linux on it as I stated before. Nowadays, some Linux, and I have to stress some Linux. Now when I say some, maybe 5 versus the hundreds up to 1,000 Linux distributions that are out there. Maybe you can count on 5 that I can say are easy to install and use, and that would be like your Linux Mint, Mate is what I like, Ubuntu Mate, Chrome OS Flex, Zorn OS. Those should be fairly easy to download and install if you want to get rid of Windows that don't need Windows, and you don't want to get or don't want to install Windows 11 or buy a Windows PC. Now keep in mind that you can install Windows 10 on a quote-unquote unsupported PC. I've done it 3 times, 4 times. It can be done. It does work. Is it recommended? Probably not if you don't know what you're doing. But it can be done if you don't want to go out and spend the money for a new computer. If you don't need Windows, you can try installing Linux. It's worked for me. On this computer here, I have Linux Mint and Windows 11 on 2 separate SSDs. It seems to be fine. This computer's from 2013. This Dell officially is not Windows 11 supported. Well, I made a few phone calls to Sicily. I got it supported. Just kidding. Anyway, yes, it can be done. So, contrary to what you have seen or heard on YouTube, you can install Windows 11 on unsupported computers, no problem. Is it recommended? Look, as a Windows Linux user, is it recommended? I would have to say probably not if you don't know what you're doing, but it can be done. It can be done. And I don't know, computers today with Windows 11 start at about $300. It's not a lot, but I get if you're on a budget and you have a perfectly fine computer, why go out and buy a new computer? I agree. So try that. If you tried Linux before and thought it sucked, times have changed. I have a Chromebook here to the right, and it's running perfectly. And with these Chromebooks, I never have to use the terminal unless I want to. If I turn on the Linux environment on this, terminal commands, you don't have to. You don't have to. And something like this, it just works. It's ready to go out of the box. You log in with your Google account, and you never have to use the terminal ever if the terminal scares you. I know, Windows users, you have told me when it comes to Linux, you don't want to use the terminal ever. That's okay. It's not that hard to learn. It really isn't. But I understand you have busy lives, maybe you're married, kids, college. You don't have time to mess with the terminal bugs and all that. Then a Chromebook is the way to go. And maybe Chrome OS Flex, the free version of Chrome OS, may be good enough. I've tested it. That was okay. With Chrome OS Flex, though, you will lose the ability to install apps through the Android store, and that's kind of important. But that being said, if you have the time, check out Chrome OS Flex, Linux Mint, Ubuntu Mate, Zorn OS. These have been around a few years, more than a few years. They have established themselves. Linux Mint is probably the oldest since 2007, 2008. I actually have Linux Mint on 2 machines, including this one for tonight, and it's good. As a Windows user, I can definitely recommend you try Linux Mint. I can't promise you will never use the terminal in Linux unless you buy a Chromebook, but I am 99% confident with distributions like this, you will not have to use the terminal for fear of breaking something, as it were. Anyway, and that's that. All right. Yes, Pop! OS is not bad, Joseph, for beginners. They've done a good job customizing with the proper extensions, customizing the GNOME desktop, although I believe Zorin OS does a better job. Overall, Zorin OS, I think, does a better job with the proper extensions that work, that will not break. And yeah, but Pop! OS I've tested in the past. It's definitely good. Yeah. I'm just refreshing the chat here on the Chromebook. If there's anybody else watching who wants to say hello or have a question, I try to do these the shows at random times, usually during the weekends, but sometimes during the week. So if somebody else has a question, now's the time, because right now it's just me and Joseph, and that's fine. But the more the merrier, right? Fedora is not beginner friendly, but it's solid. I hear it's solid too. The last time I tried Fedora, yeah, I would not say it's probably not for beginners either. But the latest Fedora, I have heard that it is pretty solid. I don't distro jump, or not distro. I don't distro hop. It's late here. I don't distro hop anymore because over the years of distro hopping from 2006 to, well, I stopped, I think, in, let's see, 2016, 2017. I realized over the years I was just bug hopping more than distro hopping, as it were. So I stopped. Now, I'm glad I did it, because that's how I learned about Linux, which ones are good and what not to do when installing a Linux-based system. So I distro hopped for about 10 years, and I stopped. And I finally landed on the Chromebook here to my right, Linux Mint, Zorin OS. I even have Ubuntu on my other machine that's hooked up to my new 50-inch Roku TV that broke 1 week after my surgery. It was a nice welcoming home gift. But Ubuntu I don't recommend for beginners. There are one too many terminal commands with Ubuntu to make it user-friendly. For example, in Ubuntu, there's no click to minimize function. If you want to change or add extensions, you have to add the GNOME shell extension capability through a terminal command. And there are other commands involved to change the screen timeout, to maximize the timeout, to extend it. Again, yeah. So if you don't like using the terminal in Linux, Ubuntu should not be your first choice. Not the first choice. After 6 months, a year with Linux, and you like Linux, you want to try something like Ubuntu, or as Joseph says, Fedora. Yeah, you should. You might find it better. But in the beginning, whereas in the past I could have recommended Ubuntu, but when they switched to the GNOME desktop, not Ubuntu for beginners anymore. I'm saying this as a Windows user. Now, after almost 20 years of using Linux, it's getting harder and harder for me to put my brain and eyes inside the eyes and brain of a Windows user. But I still try to do that, because I get what 1 billion Windows users are probably saying. And they're probably saying Linux sucks, and maybe it did, or I don't want to use their terminal in Linux to fix something. I'm with you on that. And with some Linux, you don't have to. On a Chromebook, as I said, I never use the terminal unless I want to. All right, Kubuntu with KDE is more beginner friendly. I haven't used Kubuntu in a while, but yeah, it's not bad. The Plasma desktop, I think, for beginners maybe has too much. So I don't generally recommend it on my top 3 or 5 list, but it's pretty slick looking, I will say that. Yeah, Kubuntu is pretty slick. And Plasma, I guess, has gotten faster and lighter over the years, maybe. Give me a second. I need to get a bottled water. Joseph, stick around, and I'll stick around for a little bit longer. My mouth is getting dry, but I will be right back. crisp apple soda with real sugar. I wasn't going to drink wine tonight, but I didn't want to put myself to sleep. Hi, welcome to the show. No, but anyway, delicious, real sugar. All right. That is really good. That hits the spot. Okay. Vincenzo. That's Vincenzo was starting with the jokes. Wait, I'm keeping track. That's 1 point for Vincenzo and 0 for me. He says that's not wine. No, it's not. Not tonight, but Vincenzo, cheers. Or is it wine? Anyway, no, it's apple crisp soda, crisp apple soda with real sugar. Yes. How you doing, Vince? Vino Rosso for the win. I know. Where's Tim tonight? Tim usually makes a donation for the wine, but I need to thank Tim. But yes, I like Vino Rosso, but tonight we're gonna go with something a little bit more healthier. When I had my surgery, my inguinal hernia surgery, it was. The doctor didn't flat out say no to alcohol, but it wasn't recommended to drink alcohol for the recovery process. Anyway, you doing okay? Just having some lunch. Oh, that's right. That's right. You are, what, about 12 hours ahead there in Australia? And I think the seasons are the opposite there, right? If I'm not mistaken. Cool. So for tonight, I was just giving updates on my surgery. Everything is fine. The doctor said I was progressing nicely. I'm pretty much all healed. I know with these types of things, it's like 6 to 8 weeks. Anyway, I'm going to give myself another month just to be extra safe. But so I have my Chromebook to the right of me. I did some updates on this thing and running it. I have the chat here to the right of me. So everything is peachy. Vince says you've been on Arch since 2018. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Ubuntu's Immutable. It's been delayed indefinitely. Of course, Chromebooks are immutable. So for me at least, and for Chromebook users, immutable system is nothing new. And I think that's why the Chromebooks are rock solid, because they are made not to tinker or to customize, unless you turn on the Linux environment. But yeah, the interesting thing when it comes to Linux in general are the immutable ones. I would totally agree. Of course, now with the newer Chromebooks, you'll get at least 10 years of support or more. That's up to Google. And these machines very quietly have become the Linux standard for the masses, because you never have to use a terminal. Yeah. I guess I have another update on my Chromebook. Okay, fine. What's nice about the Chromebooks, they're not forcing me to reboot. They're just telling me I'm doing an update, and that's that. And that's all good. So that's what's going on for this evening. Just some random topics, but I'm good. the nurse practitioner, Vince, the doctor wasn't there, but the nurse practitioner was there, and she needed to check me down below. I said, sure. She gave me a good squeeze, cough. Do it again. She gave me another good squeeze. I said, Doc, can you buy me dinner first? Ah, your sister's coming over. Okay, Vince. I'll stick around a little bit longer, yeah. Anyway, yes, I've heard good things about Fedora, but it's probably not something I would use. I've been so used to Ubuntu-based Debian and stuff like that. My first date with Linux was with Ubuntu back in 2006, and even though Linux wasn't ready for prime time back then, I knew Linux had a future. And one day it would grow to more than just something for us geeks. And I was right. Media codec support for Fedora. RPM Fusion. I think it's gotten easier to install those, but yeah, it's not for Windows newbies, Linux newbies. So and by the way, sometime tomorrow night I will probably transcode this live stream for tonight into audio, and I'll put it on the Patreon page for TOS Today. It'll be a free download. You don't have to join or pay for anything. A lot of stuff I put on there is free to download. Okay, I don't want to restart now the Chromebook. It's just a little pop-up in the Chromebook. You need to restart to finish the updating, but I think I'll wait. Okay. But yeah, I pretty much landed with Linux Mint. Zorin OS I do like still. And on the one Lenovo desktop, I have the latest Ubuntu just to kind of tinker with and play with. I will say this, I think Ubuntu looks great on a 50-inch screen, a 50-inch TV. Ubuntu looks pretty good. So So did I see where another Linux distribution is dumping Firefox because of the whole privacy thing? I get it, but is there really privacy on the web? The way we define privacy, can you erase yourself off the web? Completely erase yourself off the web and start over, knowing what you know now versus years ago on the whole thing of what I call the privacy delusion. You know, I had a conversation about this with Stephanie back in 2019 about the many ways that you can lose your privacy without even using this, a cell phone. All the ways, all the privacy destroying ways. I think I counted at least 10 of them without even using a cell phone. And it's worse today. But I'll have an update on that in a future live event. And I don't think I was wrong. I don't think privacy exists on the web. It's impossible, no matter what you use. Because how do you erase yourself? Nobara, that's the name of it. Nobara Linux. I don't think I know that one. Is that Linux based? Nobara. Okay, all right. Who was it that it switched? Was it Brave? Switching to the Brave browser, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and Brave is fine. But I think what users have to realize that when you're switching browsers or going from Windows to Linux, you can't say, "Oh, now I'll be private." You're limiting the amount of your data to the web, the amount of telemetry. But what about the years before you browse the web and your shopping habits are out there on the web and your information? It's too late. Right? So, yeah, switching to Brave or something more privacy focused is fine, but you're not private because the information is out, if that makes any sense. And really, from that conversation back from 2019 to today, there's something that is far more dangerous to your privacy. And I don't want to talk about it now. That is for a future topic. But it's some scary shit. Pardon my language. Nobara is based on Fedora. Okay. All right. All right, so those are my topics for this evening. Like I said, I've been waiting for the announcement from Ubuntu when they will release a beta for their immutable version of Ubuntu, which it was supposed to come out, I think, last year, but it wasn't ready. I can appreciate that. But that's the next big thing. I know Cosmic 70 or not System 76. They released the last alpha, I think, for their Cosmic desktop with Rust programming language. I looked at it, but to me there was no wow factor. There was nothing there to say, "Hey, look at that." It's not there. It's just not there. All right, just waiting for Vince to come back because I'll stick around just a few minutes longer. But a quiet night in the chat. All right, Vincenzo, you're back. So are you still using the Arch-based, Vince? Or did you wise up and try some better? They wanted a spare monitor you had. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm using, for a monitor, I got this Fire TV. I think 40-inch or so that I'm using here. Then I had to buy a new 50-inch to the left of me after my TV went bad about a week after I came home from surgery. I'm cursed. That's like my 7th TV since 2008. In Italian, there's a legend of a curse called the evil eye, the Maloik. They give you the evil eye, and that's what I got. I could have opened up a TV shop with all the money I've spent on TVs. Was Arco? which is now no more. Eric Dubois retired. Updates turned it into Arch. Is that better or worse? I tried. What did I try in the past? Arch-based Manjaro. Did not work out for me. Yeah. I don't need rolling release. I don't need cutting edge. Because if you mess with cutting edge, you might get cut up here mentally. So I'll stick with Ubuntu or Debian based, you know. By the way, Vince, have you ever tried this Dr. Squatch soap there in Australia? This is like $8 for a relatively small bar of soap. I bought it out of curiosity to see if my skin would feel smoother or give me a tingly feeling. It did neither, so Dr. Squatch is getting squashed by me. I use just whatever has cocoa butter in it, like Camay or something like that. Joseph, I don't mess with virtual machines anymore. When I try something, if it'll boot fine off a USB to test, I will test it. I will. If not, I'll do a full install. But I don't mess with virtual machines anymore. All right, Vincenzo, Dr. Squatch, you never heard of it. I want it to be called Dr. Snatch. Okay, my pen. That's 2 jokes for Vince and 0 for me. Hey man, you're on a roll. I miss the good old days of Thank Toss It's Fridays. Is that what they call you in Australia? Thank you, Vince, for making me laugh. Oh man. See, this is why I come on at nights when I have the time at random, just to... Okay. Vince, you gotta go. Thank you for stopping by. We'll get together one of these nights on a private supporter chat. Keep in touch. I hope everything is cool with you. I know what's going on. And the hernia thing, the doctor gave me green light to cut the grass carefully. I'm okay. It's good to laugh. Thank you. You have to go. Love you, man. All right. All right, Joseph, you need to go too. That is fine. Thank you for stopping by. All right, if there's anybody else in the chat who wants to say hello, say it now or forever hold your peace. Because I'm going to wrap this up. Again, thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Vincenzo, for stopping by and making me laugh. All right. Okay, it looks like that's it for the chat for this evening. If you catch this later, sorry I missed you. You guys know how to reach me. Again, I will have this transcode into audio format on the Patreon page. If you would like to support the live shows, if you'd like to sponsor a live show, send me an email. We can do a topic of your choice that is somewhat related to what I do here. It doesn't necessarily have to be all about technology. Anything that's somewhat relevant, I'll be happy to talk about, and we can schedule it on a future chat. If you haven't already subscribed, you found this entertaining, subscribe, share it with your friends, like and share and all that. And that's all I have to say for this evening. So take care of yourself, stay healthy, enjoy whatever technology that you use, and I will catch you on the next one. Arrivederci.